So good day, sir. We are the Group 8, and our topic for today is about business behavior in Europe's single market in Chapter 15. Opening case: Cultural differences, a barrier to free trade. The Casse de Dehon case and the ECJ decisions. The issues. In the Casse de Dehon case, the European Court of Justice, or ECJ, struck down a German import prohibition. The prohibition disallowed the import, sales, and/or marketing of liquor in Germany that did not meet minimum German alcohol standards. The ruling gave the European Commission an opportunity to develop the principle of mutual recognition. Ultimately, the principle implies that any national law with reasonable policy goals such as environmental conservation, health, and so on will be tolerated within the regional trading bloc of Europe. So in February 1979, the European Court of Justice, or ECJ, ruled on the Casse de Dehon case, which involved German prohibition on importing alcoholic beverage that did not meet minimum alcohol content requirements. The German government argued that the regulation was necessary for health and consumption protection reasons. However, the ECJ struck down the prohibition, stating that it constitutes a barrier to the free movement of goods within the EU. The ruling established the principle that member states cannot impose unjustified barriers to trade, ensuring the removal of non-tariff barriers and promoting the free movement of goods within the EU. The ECJ's ruling in the Casse de Dehon case established that barriers to trade within the EU were only permissible if they meet specific requirements related to fiscal supervisions, public health protection, fairness of commercial transactions, and consumer defense. In cases where these conditions were threatened, the EU Commission would issue directives to harmonize standards across member states. The Casse de Dehon case gained attention when the EU Commission used aspects of the ruling to address non-tariff trade barriers. This new approach aimed to liberalize trade and harmonize divergent environment standards among member states. Through the principle of mutual recognition, the Commission issued directives to ensure a high minimum standard in areas like environmental protections. This approach allowed for greater consistency and cooperation in addressing trade barriers and promoting harmonization within EU. So, introduction. What is influencing business behavior in Europe's single market? The growth and development of European Union have had significant impact on business behavior. The EU has created a single market that allows for the free movement of goods, services, people, and capital. This increased freedom has led businesses to adapt and protect themselves from intensified competition within the EU. To ensure fair competition and protection the interests of workers, consumers, and citizens, the EU has implemented competition rules. These rules aim to regulate businesses' behavior and prevent practices that could harm the well-being of these stakeholders. The chapter emphasizes the importance of having a clearly defined competition policy in the EU. So overall, the chapter aims to provide an understanding of business behavior within the EU single market and highlights the significance of a well-defined competition policy. By effectively managing business behavior, the EU seeks to ensure fair competition, protect stakeholders, and promote the overall well-being of workers, consumers, and citizens. So next is the challenges in the Europe continent in the aftermath of World War II. After World War II, Europe faced significant economic and political challenges, which were further exacerbated by the emerging Cold War between the Western countries and the Soviet Union. The United States, aiming to counter the influence of communism in the Western Europe, implemented the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan, officially known as the European Recovery Program, or ERP, was a finance and program initiated by the United States. It offered $1.3 billion in assistance to Western European countries to aid in their reconstruction efforts. The funds came with the condition that the money be used collectively for the benefit of all recipient nations rather than individual. To manage the disruption of the Marshall Funds and promote further cooperation, the Organization for European Economic Cooperation, or OEEC, was established in 1948. The OEEC served as a platform for member countries to coordinate economic policies, allocate resources, and facilitate trade and investment with Europe. It laid the groundwork for future collaboration and integration efforts of the European continent. Overall, the Marshall Plan and the formation of OEEC were instrumental in shaping the post-war European landscape, promoting economic recovery and laying the groundwork for future cooperation and integration within the continent. So first steps, the regions of cooperation in Europe. The Treaty of Paris in 1951, the European Coal and Steel Community. In the 1950s, the Schuman Plan proposed cooperation between France and Germany in coal and steel production. This led to the formation of the European Coal and Steel Community, or ECSC, in 1951. The ECSC involved 6 states, including Germany, France, Italy, and Benelux countries, and involved joint control of industries. The ECSC marked the beginning of European integration and involved into the Union, now defining cooperation between 25 European states. So, in summary, this common plan and the subsequent formation of the European Coal and Steel Community, or ECSC, in the 1950s aimed to promote cooperation and reconciliation between France and Germany. The ECSC focused on joint control of coal and steel production among its founding member states. These initiatives laid the foundation for further cooperation and integration, ultimately leading to the establishment of European Union. Next is the rules applying to undertakings. The EC Treaty aims to maintain competition through 3 main channels: stopping restrictive agreements, preventing companies from abuses of their dominant position, and controlling mergers. Violation of restrictive agreements and abuses of dominant positions are punished by fines. Next is rules applying to state aid. Article 87 of the EC Treaty prohibits state to companies as it distorts competition and is incompatible with the common market. However, some limited cases allow state aid, such as promoting activities or natural disaster relief.
The deepening of European integration, the evolution of the EU through treaties. First, the Treaties of Rome in 1957, the EEC and Euratom. Treaties of Rome, signed in 1957, established 2 key pillars of the European Economic Community, or EEC. The treaty establishing the European Economic Community, or EEC Treaty, and the treaty establishing the European Atomic Energy Community, or Euratom Treaty. The European Economic Community, or the EEC, aimed to create a common market among its member states by eliminating trade barriers and facilitating the free movement of goods, services, capital, and people. Next, the Euratom Treaty, or the European Atomic Energy Community, was established to coordinate the nuclear energy policy of member states and promote peaceful uses of atomic energy. And Euratom contribute to the growth of European nuclear industry and facilitated collaboration on nuclear research and technology. Together, these treaties mark a significant step toward European integration and laid the groundwork for the development of the European Union. They promote economic cooperation and shared resources while fostering peaceful uses of atomic energy among the founding member states. Next, the Single European Act, or SEA, signed in 1986, was a crucial milestone in the process of European integration. One of its primary objectives was to establish a single market within the European community by removing barriers to the free movement of goods, services, people, and capital among member states. There are the 6-point program outlined in the Single European Act, or SEA, to accelerate the establishment of the single market within the European community. First, attainment of a large market without internal frontiers. 2. Economic and social cohesion leading to greater convergence. 3. A common policy of scientific and technological development. 4. Strengthening the European monetary system. 5. Introduction of the European social dimension. 6. Coordinated action for protection of environment. These 6 action points were designed to deepen European integration, create a more unified economic space, and enhance the overall competitiveness and cohesion of the European community. And the implementation of the Single European Act marked a significant step forward in the evolution of the European Union. Next, the Treaty of Maastricht, signed in 1992, was a pivotal agreement that laid the foundation for establishment of the European Union, or EU. It expanded the scope of European integration beyond economic cooperation and introduced key elements of political and social collaboration. Here are some key aspects of Treaty of Maastricht. First, formation of the European Union. The treaty officially established the European Union, marking a significant evolution from previous European Economic Community, or EEC. The EU became a broader entity compassing not only economic integration but also political and social cooperation. Next, three pillars. The three pillars of Maastricht introduced the concept of three pillars representing different aspects of EU or cooperation. The European Community or EC, Common Foreign and Security Policy or CFSP, and Justice and Home Affairs or GHA. This structure aimed to address economic, foreign policy, and justice-related matters separately. The Treaty of Maastricht was a landmark agreement that significantly deepened European integration, paving way of more politically united and economically integrated European Union. It is set the stage for subsequent treaties and expansion of EU responsibilities. The institutional framework is designed to balance the interests of member states and promote effective decision-making within the EU. The complex interplay between these institutions reflects the multifaceted nature of European governance, where power distribute among various actors to ensure democratic representation and cooperation.
The widening of the EU, the policy of enlargement. Since its creation in 1951 by 6 countries, Germany, France, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and the Luxembourg, the community and thereafter the EU has passed through 5 successive enlargements. The first enlargement, 1973. The first enlargement of the community took place in 1973 and involved 3 countries whose objectives were primarily economic. These were the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Denmark. The 2 Mediterranean enlargement, 1981 and 1986. The Mediterranean enlargements of the community in 1981 and 1986 involving Greece and Spain. The Portugal were initiated by these newly established democracies after the dictatorship period. The EFTA enlargement, 1995. The 1995 EU enlargement was driven by EFTA member states Austria, Finland, and Sweden's desire to join Europe's single market for potential investments benefits. The Eastern Enlargement 2004. In 2004, the EU fifth wave of enlargement included 10 Central and Eastern European countries, the 2 Southern Mediterranean states, primarily seeking to consolidate democracies and transition from communism. National and cultural differences within the EU. The importance of diversity. The evidence. The EU's enlargements have resulted in a significant diversity in its rank. With 25 member states covering nearly 4 million square kilometers, the EU's population has also increased significantly, reaching over 4 million, representing over 6% of the total world population. The EU's population is the third largest in the world, after China and India. The EU's growth is attributed to its diverse membership and its population growth. National diversity is a significant issue in the EU, affecting millions of citizens' attitude and affinities. As late as 1960s and 1970s, European states maintained strong national identities, with distinct bodies of law and policies. The nation-states was dominant, focusing on the mass public loyalty and primary political and administrative authority. A Eurobarometer survey in 2002 revealed that a quarter of EU citizens felt not very or not at all proud to be Europeans. Public support of EU membership was higher than disapproval in all EU member states. Supported weakest is populous countries that joined in EU in 1995. EFTA enlargement in the United Kingdom, but stronger in Luxembourg and Ireland approval levels were higher in Cyprus 72%, Lithuania 65%, and Hungary 63%, and the lowest is Estonia 32%, Latvia 37%, and the Czech Republic 47%. The impact of national diversity on business behavior. National diversity significantly influenced business behavior in Europe's single market. As national ventures are often favored over cross-border businesses, examples of discrimination along national lines include the Cassis de Dejon opening case and the low number of cross-border contracts awarded in public procurement. To eliminate such as bias, it is crucial to raise awareness and cultivate perception that goods, services, people, and capital are moving between EU states rather than being imported or exported abroad. This is inbuilt notion of perception needs to be considerate to effective overcome problems resulting from national diversity. The significance of Europe's single market. The four freedoms of movement. Free movement of goods. The European Union or EU has made significant progress in freeing up the movement of goods in its single market. This was achieved through the gradual reduction of trade barriers, allowing businesses to trade freely and consumers to buy goods in any EU country without incurring cost. This involves removing physical, fiscal, and technical restriction. Physical barriers included custom checks and borders, while fiscal barriers involved control over direct and indirect taxation. Technical barriers involves discrepancies in standards, specification, and regulation across member states. The principle of mutual recognition and technical harmonization have led to increased trade volume between EU.
Free movement of people. The Schengen area, a border-free area in the EU, was established in 1985 between Germany, France, and Benelux countries. It initially included 13 EU 15 member states, but was later extended and included the UK and Ireland. Some of the main measures adopted by the Schengen Group members are outlined in the Union's official website and Europawid website. The removal of checks at the common borders, replacing them with external border checks, a common definition of the rules for crossing external borders, separation in air terminals and parts of the people traveling with Schengen area from these arriving from countries outside the area, harmonization of rules regarding condition of entry and visas for short stays, coordination between administration on surveillance or borders, requirement for all non-EU national moving from one country to another lodge of declaration, the drawing up of rules for asylum seekers, the introduction of rights of surveillance and not pursuit, the strengthening of legal cooperation through a faster extradition system and faster distribution of information about the implementation of criminal judgments, the creation of Schengen Information System. The free movement of people has led to the free movement of labor, allowing EU citizens to work in any EU country they choose. Member states recognize professional qualification and tertiary education diplomas based on the principle that if qualified in one country, you can practice in another. However, there are challenges in applying this principle in practice. Between 1997 and 2002, the number of EU citizens working in another EU country increased by 0.17 million for women and 0.12 million for men. Free movement of capital. The European Commission White Paper on Financial State Services outlined its objective for the financial service policy, which aimed to free up capital movement by removing restriction on payments between member states. Progress has been made in Europe's single market benefiting companies and private investors, but fragmentation remains. The composition of the FDI towards EU countries is higher in intra-EU countries, indicating that FDI from EU countries towards other EU members makes up a greater percentage of the overall composition. The full integration of financial services market is expected to bring macroeconomic benefits including increased employment and growth. These objectives are specifically to consolidate dynamically toward an integrated, open, inclusive, competitive, and economically efficient EU financial market. Remove the remaining economically significant barriers so that financial services can be provided and capital can circulate freely throughout the EU at the lowest possible cost, with effective levels of prudential and conduct business regulation, resulting in high levels of financial stability, consumer benefits, and consumer protection. Implement, enforce, and continuously evaluate the existing legislation and to apply rigorously the better regulation agenda to future initiatives. Enhance supervisory cooperation and convergence in the EU, deepen regulation with other global financial marketplace, and strengthen European influence globally. Capital movements in the EU are hindered by variation in interest rates across member states, leading to limited cross-border activity in retail markets due to regulatory difference and the lack of harmonized financial product and comparable information. The European Monetary Union conducting business in the Eurozone. The cost of transferring money for business in another country has decreased, eliminating the need for businesses to take out insurance or increase profit margin to protect against exchange rate fluctuations. These costs, which used to be 1% of GDP, have disappeared due to more than 80% of the euro area countries trade being with each other. Companies in the euro area can easily protect themselves by billing customers in euros, making it easier to handle currency fluctuation. The Eurozone economic standard achieved through Maastricht criteria, which businesses with relative price stability, low inflation, and lower interest rates, enabling efficient trading and reduced uncertainty, leading to higher economic growth and prosperity. The need for regulation in Euro's business environment, the EU's competition policy. The European Union's competition policy focuses on ensuring fair practice in business environment, promoting healthy competition, and preventing anti-competitive actions. The European Commission oversees the enforcement of policy, ensuring fairness and consumer protection. The rules on competition are outlined in Article 81 to 89 of the EC Treaty, specifically relating to undertakings and state aid.